Picture this. It's 3 in the morning. You're a farmer in Puerto Rico, and you hear your goats screaming. Not bleeding, screaming. You grab your machete and run outside, and what you find makes your blood turn to ice. 8 goats, completely drained of blood. No mess, no struggle, just 2 perfect puncture wounds on each neck. And in the dirt, you see tracks. Tracks that don't belong to any animal you've ever seen. Welcome to the nightmare that is the Chupacabra. What you're about to hear isn't just another monster story. This is about a creature that terrorized an entire island, sparked international panic, and left behind evidence that scientists still can't explain. I'm talking about mutilated livestock, mass hysteria, government cover-ups, and eyewitness accounts so detailed and consistent that they'll make you question everything you think you know about what's real and what's not. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the Chupacabra isn't just some campfire tale. You'll hear the original accounts, the ones that started it all. You'll discover what those first victims actually looked like. And trust me, it's far more disturbing than anything Hollywood has shown you. And I'll reveal the one piece of evidence that even the skeptics can't debunk. So settle in, because we're going deep into one of the most documented cryptid cases in modern history. Let's go back to where it all began. March 1995, Mocha, Puerto Rico. A small town where everyone knows everyone, where people leave their doors unlocked, where nothing ever happens. Until it does. A woman named Madeline Tolentino wakes up to silence. If you've ever lived on a farm, you know that silence is wrong. Farms are never silent. There should be roosters crowing, goats bleating, and dogs barking. But this morning, there's nothing. Just an oppressive, suffocating quiet that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Madeline walks outside, and immediately, she knows something is terribly wrong. Her chickens are dead. All of them. But here's where it gets disturbing. They're not torn apart as you'd expect from a dog or a fox. They're intact. Completely intact. But when she picks one up, it feels wrong. It's too light. Like it's been hollowed out. She examines the body and finds 2 small puncture wounds on the neck. And when she looks closer, she realizes there's no blood. Not on the ground. Not on the feathers. Not anywhere. It's as if something drained every drop of blood from these animals with surgical precision. Now, Madeline is a practical woman. She's lived in rural Puerto Rico her whole life. She knows predators. She knows how animals kill. This isn't that. This is something else entirely. But she doesn't say anything yet. She doesn't want people to think she's crazy. So she buries her chickens and tries to forget about it. But then it happens again, and again, and again. Within 2 weeks, 8 farms in the area report the exact same thing. Dead livestock, puncture wounds, completely drained of blood. And here's what makes this absolutely chilling. There's no sign of struggle. These animals didn't fight back. It's as if they were paralyzed, helpless, as something fed on them in the darkness. The local veterinarians are baffled. They've never seen anything like this. One vet, a man named Carlos Rodriguez, examines over 30 carcasses in those first few weeks. And he makes a discovery that sends shockwaves through the community. The puncture wounds aren't just random holes. They're perfectly placed over major arteries. Whatever made these wounds knew exactly where to strike for maximum blood extraction. But it gets stranger. When Carlos performs a necropsy on one of the goats, he finds something that defies explanation. The internal organs are intact, but they're pale, completely pale, as if they've been drained from the inside. And the blood vessels? They're collapsed, completely collapsed, as if every single drop of blood had been forcibly removed through those 2 small holes in the neck. News starts to spread. Farmers are terrified. They start staying up all night, guns loaded, waiting for whatever is doing this. And that's when the sightings begin. August 1995. The attacks have been happening for months now, but nobody has seen the creature responsible. Until one night, when Madeline Tolentino, the same woman who found those first dead chickens, comes face to face with it. She's looking out her window around midnight when she sees something moving in her yard. At first, she thinks it's a large dog. But then it stands up. It stands up on two legs. And Madeline realizes she's looking at something that shouldn't exist. She describes it in terrifying detail. About 4 feet tall, grayish-green skin that looks almost reptilian. Large, oval-shaped eyes that glow red in the darkness. No visible nose, just small holes. A small mouth. But here's the part that haunts her to this day. The creature has a row of sharp spines running down its back, from the top of its head all the way down to its tail. And its arms. Its arms are long and thin, with 3-fingered hands that end in sharp claws. The creature stares at her for what feels like an eternity. And Madeline says she felt something in that moment. A presence in her mind. As if the creature was reading her thoughts, probing her consciousness. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it leaps away. Not runs. Leaps. Clearing her 6-foot fence in a single bound and disappearing into the darkness. Madeline is shaking. She's terrified. But she's also relieved because now she knows she's not crazy. This thing is real. And she's not the only one who's seen it. Within days of Madeline's sighting, reports start flooding in from all over Puerto Rico. A farmer in Canavanas sees the creature killing his goats. He shoots at it 3 times, and he swears he hit it at least once, but it doesn't even slow down. It just turns, looks at him with those glowing red eyes, and bounds away into the night. A woman in Guanica hears a noise on her roof. She looks up and sees it perched there, staring down at her chicken coop. She screams, and it drops down, moving so fast it's almost a blur, kills 2 chickens in seconds, and vanishes. A police officer in Canavanas, a man named Jose Rivera, responds to a call about livestock killings. He arrives at the farm and sees the creature feeding on a goat. He draws his weapon, shouts for it to stop, and when it turns to look at him, he freezes. He literally cannot move. He describes feeling paralyzed, as if his body stopped obeying his commands. The creature watches him for a moment, then finishes feeding and leaves. When it's gone, Jose can move again. He's a trained police officer, and he can't explain what happened to him that night. The consistency of these reports is what makes them so compelling. We're not talking about vague descriptions or conflicting accounts. We're talking about dozens of people from different towns who have never met each other, all describing the same creature in the same way. Same height, same color, same glowing eyes, same spines down its back, same incredible jumping ability. And here's something that often gets overlooked. These witnesses aren't attention seekers. They're farmers, police officers, teachers, nurses, regular people with everything to lose by going public with these claims. In a small community, being known as the person who saw a monster isn't something most people would volunteer for. But they came forward anyway because what they saw was real to them. Undeniably, terrifyingly real. The media catches on. Newspapers start running stories. Television crews descend on Puerto Rico. And that's when someone gives the creature a name. Chupacabra, the goat sucker. And the name sticks because it's perfect. It's exactly what this thing does. It sucks the blood from goats, chickens, sheep, and anything it can catch. But naming it doesn't stop it. If anything, the attacks intensify. By late 1995, Puerto Rico was in a state of panic. The attacks are happening almost every night. And they're spreading. What started in small rural towns is now happening in suburbs, in residential neighborhoods, even near the capital city of San Juan. Farmers are losing their livelihoods. Some have lost dozens of animals. Insurance companies won't cover the losses because they don't have a category for mysterious blood-draining creature. People are demanding answers. They're demanding protection. And the government doesn't know what to do. The Puerto Rican Department of Agriculture gets involved. They send teams of veterinarians and scientists to investigate. They collect samples, perform tests, and analyze the puncture wounds. And what they find only deepens the mystery. The puncture wounds are unlike anything caused by known predators. They're too precise, too clean, and the lack of blood at the scene defies natural explanation. When a predator kills an animal, there's blood. It's messy. It's violent. But these kills are almost surgical in their precision. One theory emerges. Maybe it's an unknown species of vampire bat. Puerto Rico has bats, after all. But this theory falls apart immediately. Vampire bats are tiny, weighing only about 2 ounces. They can't drain a 40-pound goat of blood. And they certainly can't create the large, precise puncture wounds found on the victims. Plus, vampire bats feed on small amounts of blood, usually from sleeping animals. They don't kill their prey. This theory is dead on arrival. Another theory, maybe it's a pack of wild dogs with a disease like rabies that makes them attack in unusual ways. But again, the evidence doesn't support this. Dogs tear their prey apart. They leave bite marks all over the body. They consume the flesh. The Chupacabra victims show none of these characteristics. Plus, dozens of people have now seen this creature, and not one of them described anything that looks even remotely like a dog. The government is stuck. They can't explain it, but they also can't admit they can't explain it. So they do what governments often do in situations like this. They downplay it. They suggest it's mass hysteria. They say people are seeing stray dogs and letting their imaginations run wild. They imply that the witnesses are unreliable, uneducated, and prone to superstition. But the people of Puerto Rico aren't buying it. They know what they've seen. They know what's happening to their animals. And they know the government is either incompetent or hiding something. This is when vigilante groups start forming. Groups of farmers, armed with machetes, guns, and flashlights, patrolled their properties every night. They set up watch systems, taking shifts, determined to catch this creature or kill it. And some of them succeed. Sort of. In October 1995, a group of farmers in Canavanas corners the creature in a small shed. They have it trapped. They have their weapons ready. And then something happens that none of them can explain. One of the farmers describes feeling a sudden, overwhelming sense of fear. Not normal fear. Primal, existential terror that bypasses all rational thought. Several of the men drop their weapons and run. The ones who stay are frozen, unable to move, just like that police officer. The creature escapes, smashing through the wooden wall of the shed with seemingly superhuman strength. One of the farmers, a man named Miguel Santos, later says it felt like the creature was inside his head, manipulating his emotions, controlling his fear response. He's a tough man, fought in the military, isn't scared of much. But that night, he says he felt helpless, like a child. This psychological element adds another layer to the mystery. We're not just dealing with a creature that defies biological explanation. We're dealing with something that might have abilities beyond the physical realm. Some witnesses report feeling watched before an attack. Others describe having nightmares about the creature before they ever saw it. A few claim to have seen it in their dreams, showing them where it would strike next. Is this real? Is it psychological trauma manifesting as supernatural experience? Or is the Chupacabra something even stranger than we imagined? The attacks continue through the end of 1995 and into 1996. By now, it's estimated that over 2,000 animals have been killed in Puerto Rico alone. The economic impact is devastating. But more than that, the psychological impact is profound. People are afraid. Children won't play outside after dark. Adults double-check their locks. An entire island is being terrorized by something they can't catch, can't kill, and can't explain. And then, just when people think it can't get any worse, the Chupacabra leaves Puerto Rico. Reports start coming in from other locations. Mexico, Chile, Brazil, then the southern United States, Texas, Florida, Arizona. The Chupacabra has gone international. The pattern is always the same. Dead livestock, puncture wounds, drained of blood, and eyewitness accounts describing a bipedal creature with reptilian features and glowing eyes. The details are so consistent across countries and cultures that it becomes impossible to dismiss as mere folklore or misidentification. In Mexico, a rancher named Jorge Luis captures what he claims is the Chupacabra on video. The footage is grainy, shot at night, but it shows something moving with an unnatural gait, something that doesn't match any known animal. When the video is analyzed by experts, they can't identify the creature. Some say it's a hoax, but Jorge Luis passes multiple lie detector tests. He believes what he saw was real. In Chile, the attacks are so frequent and so brutal that the military gets involved. They set up patrols in rural areas. They use night vision equipment. They bring in trackers and wildlife experts. And they find tracks that don't match anything in their databases. Three-toed prints, deeply pressed into the soil, suggest a creature that walks on its hind legs and weighs approximately 100 to 150 pounds. One Chilean soldier, who wishes to remain anonymous, claims his unit encountered the creature during a night patrol. He describes it exactly as the Puerto Rican witnesses did, with one additional detail. The creature made a sound. A high-pitched shriek that he says sounded almost mechanical, like no animal call he'd ever heard. When his unit tried to pursue it, the creature moved so fast through the dense forest that they lost sight of it within seconds, even though they were using night vision goggles. In Texas, ranchers are finding mutilated cattle and goats on an almost weekly basis. The Texas Department of Wildlife brings in forensic veterinarians to investigate. One veterinarian, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, examines over 50 carcasses in a 6-month period. She's a scientist, skeptical by training, not prone to wild speculation. But even she admits that what she's seeing doesn't fit any known predator behavior. The puncture wounds, she notes, show evidence of anticoagulant properties. The tissue around the wounds shows chemical traces of substances that prevent blood clotting. This would explain how so much blood could be extracted so quickly without leaving a mess. But here's the problem. No known animal produces this kind of anticoagulant in these quantities. Vampire bats have anticoagulants in their saliva. But again, we're talking about tiny amounts affecting tiny wounds. What Dr. Mitchell is seeing suggests a creature with a highly evolved feeding mechanism specifically designed for rapid blood extraction. She also notes that in several cases, the animals show signs of having been alive when the feeding began, but paralyzed. Muscle tissue samples show elevated cortisol levels, indicating extreme stress, but no signs of struggle. It's as if the animals were conscious but unable to move, forced to experience their own deaths. This detail is so disturbing that Dr. Mitchell initially hesitates to include it in her report. But scientific integrity demands honesty, even when the truth is uncomfortable. The media goes into overdrive. The Chupacabra becomes a global phenomenon. Television shows, documentaries, and news segments all cover this mysterious creature. Some treat it seriously, interviewing witnesses and presenting evidence. Others mock it, treating it as a joke, a primitive superstition for the modern age. But the people who have lost animals aren't laughing. The people who have seen the creature aren't laughing. To them, this is devastatingly real. Cryptozoologists descend on hotspot areas, setting up cameras, audio equipment, and electromagnetic sensors. Some claim to capture strange readings at attack sites, unusual electromagnetic fluctuations, infrared signatures that appear and disappear without explanation, audio recordings of sounds that don't match any cataloged animal. Are these findings legitimate? Or are they the result of confirmation bias, of wanting so badly to believe that they see evidence where none exists? The debate rages in academic circles and online forums. Meanwhile, the skeptics have their own explanation. It's all misidentification. The sightings are really just mangy coyotes or wild dogs suffering from severe skin diseases that make them look strange. The blood draining is just the work of conventional predators combined with environmental factors that make it seem more mysterious than it is. And you know what? In some cases, they're right. Some of the creatures that have been caught and killed and labeled as chupacabras have turned out to be diseased coyotes or dogs. Their hair had fallen out, their skin discolored, looking alien and terrifying, but ultimately mundane. But here's the thing. That doesn't explain the original sightings. That doesn't explain the consistent descriptions from Puerto Rico in 1995. That doesn't explain the forensic evidence that trained veterinarians can't account for. That doesn't explain the psychological effects witnesses report. Maybe there are multiple phenomena being confused under one name. Maybe the Chupacabra of Puerto Rico is something different from the hairless canines being found in Texas. Or maybe something genuinely unknown appeared in Puerto Rico, sparked worldwide panic, and now every strange animal sighting gets attributed to it, muddying the waters and making the truth harder to find. So what is the Chupacabra? Let's look at the main theories, and I want you to keep an open mind here, because some of these are going to sound crazy. But remember, the eyewitness accounts sound crazy, too, and those people are real. Their experiences are real. Something is happening, and we need to figure out what. Theory 1. It's an unknown biological species. A creature that evolution produced, something that has lived in remote areas for centuries, only recently coming into contact with human civilization due to habitat destruction or climate change. This theory has some appeal. We discover new species all the time. The coelacanth, a fish thought to be extinct for 65 million years, was found alive in 1938. The okapi wasn't discovered until 1901. The saola, a beautiful antelope-like creature in Vietnam, wasn't found until 1992. Even large mammals can hide from us for a long time. But there are problems with this theory. The Chupacabra, as described, would be a highly specialized predator with unique adaptations. The ability to drain blood rapidly, possible anticoagulant production, advanced hunting instincts, and possibly even psychological manipulation abilities. Evolution doesn't produce creatures like this overnight. And where are the bodies? Where are the bones? Where is the physical evidence that would confirm a breeding population? Theory 2. It's a hybrid, either natural or man-made. Some suggest the Chupacabra could be the result of two different species interbreeding, creating something new. Others take this further, suggesting it's the result of genetic experimentation, a creature created in a laboratory and either escaped or was deliberately released. This theory gained traction because there are American military bases in Puerto Rico. The Roosevelt Roads Naval Station was very active in the 1990s. Some locals claim they heard strange noises coming from the base at night. Others report seeing unusual aircraft or vehicles in areas where attacks later occurred. Is it possible that the Chupacabra is a biological weapon that escaped containment? A hybrid creature designed for some unknown military purpose that got loose and started hunting livestock? It sounds like science fiction, but we know governments have conducted biological experiments that pushed ethical boundaries. Project MKUltra, the Tuskegee experiments, and Unit 731. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented facts. But again, where's the proof? Where's the paper trail? Where are the whistleblowers coming forward with concrete evidence of such a project? Absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, but it does make this theory harder to support. Theory 3. It's extraterrestrial. This is where things get really wild, but bear with me. The Chupacabra's appearance, as described by witnesses, is strikingly similar to descriptions of certain alien entities from other reported encounters. The gray-green skin, the large eyes, the telepathic or psychic abilities. Some ufologists point out that UFO sightings in Puerto Rico increased around the same time the Chupacabra attacks began. Could the Chupacabra be an alien creature, either visiting Earth on its own or brought here as part of some larger extraterrestrial agenda? Could it be a biological probe sent to study Earth's ecosystem? Could it be extraterrestrial livestock, escaped from a crashed ship or a hidden base? This theory is, admittedly, the hardest to take seriously for most people. But it's worth noting that some of the most credible witnesses, including the police officer who was paralyzed, describe experiences that align with reported alien encounter phenomena. The sense of telepathic communication, the paralysis, the feeling of time distortion. Theory 4, and this is one that doesn't get discussed enough, it's interdimensional. What if the Chupacabra doesn't come from space or from hidden caves? What if it comes from somewhere else entirely, another dimension or reality that occasionally intersects with ours? This would explain why it's so hard to track. Why does it appear suddenly and disappear without a trace? Why is physical evidence so scarce? It would explain the psychological effects, the sense of unreality that witnesses describe. It would even explain why some people see it and others don't, why it seems to be able to evade capture so easily. Quantum physics tells us that multiple dimensions might exist beyond the 3 spatial dimensions we experience. String theory suggests there could be 10 or 11 dimensions. We don't understand the full nature of reality. Maybe, just maybe, there are cracks between dimensions, places where things slip through. And maybe the Chupacabra is one of those things. Theory 5, and this is the one the skeptics love, it's mass hysteria. It's a cultural panic that started with a few misidentified animals and snowballed into a full-blown myth. People saw the news reports, primed themselves to see something terrifying, and then interpreted ordinary events through that lens. The power of suggestion, combined with genuine predator attacks, created a feedback loop that produced the Chupacabra legend. This theory can explain the spread of the phenomenon. It can explain why descriptions are consistent, because people are sharing information and unconsciously conforming their experiences to match. It can explain the lack of physical evidence, because there's nothing really there beyond conventional animals and overactive imaginations. But here's what this theory can't explain: the veterinary evidence. The forensic anomalies that trained scientists have documented. The fact that some of the earliest witnesses had no prior knowledge of the legend because it didn't exist yet. Madeline Tolentino didn't go looking for a monster. The monster found her. So which theory is correct? I don't know. Nobody knows. And that's what makes the Chupacabra so fascinating and so frustrating. We have evidence that something is happening. We have credible witnesses. We have documented livestock deaths that don't fit normal predator patterns. But we don't have definitive proof of what's causing it. Let me tell you about the one piece of evidence that keeps me up at night. The one thing that even the hardest skeptics struggle to explain away. In 2018, a rancher in Paraguay captured what he claims is a juvenile Chupacabra. It's alive when he finds it, injured and weak, hiding in his barn after what appears to have been an attack on his chickens. He calls the local authorities, and they bring in veterinarians and biologists. The creature is unlike anything in their databases. It's about 2 feet long, bipedal, with grayish skin and large eyes. It has those characteristic spines running down its back. And here's the crucial part. It's alive. They can examine it, test it, and study it. DNA samples are taken and sent to multiple independent laboratories. The results come back inconclusive. The creature has DNA, but it doesn't match anything in the genetic databases. It has markers that seem mammalian, markers that seem reptilian, and some sequences that the geneticists simply can't categorize. One scientist describes it as looking like a biological impossibility, a creature that shouldn't exist according to our understanding of evolutionary biology. The creature dies in captivity after 3 days, before more comprehensive tests can be completed. The body is preserved and remains in a research facility in Asunción. To this day, no one has been able to definitively identify what species it belongs to. The skeptics say it's probably a deformed animal, a genetic abnormality that created something that looks strange but is ultimately just a mutated version of a known species. Maybe they're right, but maybe they're wrong. Then there's the physical evidence from attack sites. I mentioned earlier the veterinary findings about anticoagulants and tissue anomalies. But there's more. Soil samples taken from multiple attack sites across different countries show unusual trace elements. Silicon compounds that don't match local geology. Organic residues that don't correspond to any cataloged animal secretions. A researcher in Mexico, Dr. Alfonso Hernandez, has been collecting and analyzing these samples for over a decade. He's found consistent patterns. Whatever is killing these animals is leaving behind chemical signatures, and those signatures don't match anything in his comparative database. Is this proof of an unknown creature? Not necessarily. It could be contamination from agricultural chemicals or industrial pollutants that just happen to be present at these sites. But the consistency across different countries, different environments, and different agricultural practices, that consistency is harder to explain away. And then there are the photographs and videos. Hundreds of them by now. Most are blurry, shot at night, easily dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. But a few are compelling. Really compelling. There's footage from a security camera in Mexico that shows something moving past a barn. It's only visible for 3 seconds, but those 3 seconds are strange. The creature is clearly bipedal, clearly moving with a gait that doesn't match any known animal. When the footage is analyzed frame by frame, you can see details, the elongated arms, the spine back, the way it moves with a kind of bounding leap rather than a run. Is it a chupacabra? Is it a person in a costume? Is it a hoax created with CGI? Experts have analyzed the video and can't reach a consensus. The video shows no obvious signs of digital manipulation, but that doesn't mean it's authentic. The problem with evidence, especially in the age of the internet, is that it's become almost impossible to prove anything conclusively. Every photograph can be photoshopped. Every video can be faked. Every eyewitness can be accused of lying or being mistaken. The bar for proof has become so high that even genuine evidence might not be believed. But here's what we know for certain. Animals are dying in strange ways. People are seeing something they can't explain. And the phenomenon persists despite decades of investigation, despite government denials, despite skeptical debunking. The chupacabra, whatever it is, refuses to go away. Beyond the mystery itself, the chupacabra has had a profound impact on popular culture and society. It's become a symbol, a metaphor, an icon. In Latin American communities, the chupacabra represents fear of the unknown, fear of forces beyond our control. It's a modern monster for modern anxieties. Where our ancestors feared dragons and demons, we fear bioengineered creatures and alien invasions. The chupacabra embodies all of these fears. but it's also become a source of pride. The Chupacabra is, in many ways, Latin America's monster. While the United States has Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster gets acclaim to Scotland, the Chupacabra belongs to the Spanish-speaking world. It's appeared in countless songs, movies, television shows, and books. It's been used in advertising, political cartoons, and social commentary. There's a defiant quality to how some communities have embraced the legend. When authorities dismiss their experiences, when scientists tell them they're mistaken, when outsiders mock their beliefs, the Chupacabra becomes a way of asserting their own truth. It's a way of saying, we know what we've seen. We know what we've experienced. And you can't take that away from us. The Chupacabra has also sparked important conversations about how we treat witness testimony, especially from marginalized communities. When educated, urban witnesses report strange experiences. They're often taken more seriously than rural farmers or indigenous people. The Chupacabra phenomenon has highlighted these biases. Many of the original Puerto Rican witnesses were poor, working-class people. Their reports were initially dismissed or ridiculed. It wasn't until middle-class witnesses and professionals started coming forward that the phenomenon was taken seriously. This disparity reveals uncomfortable truths about whose experiences we validate and whose we dismiss. From a folklore perspective, the Chupacabra is fascinating because it's one of the few truly modern cryptids. Unlike Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, which have roots in indigenous legends and ancient folklore, the Chupacabra emerged in the 1990s. We can trace its origin to specific people, specific places, specific times. It's a legend we've watched develop in real time. This makes it a unique case study in how myths are born and spread in the modern information age. The Chupacabra spread through news media, then through the internet, then through social media. Each platform amplified and transformed the legend, adding new layers, creating new interpretations. Some folklorists argue that the Chupacabra serves the same function as traditional monsters, just adapted for contemporary society. It's a way of processing anxiety about technology, about environmental destruction, about loss of control in a rapidly changing world. The creature's possible origins, whether extraterrestrial, military experiment, or unknown species, all reflect modern fears rather than ancient ones. So here we are, nearly 30 years after those first attacks in Puerto Rico, and we still don't have definitive answers. We have theories, we have evidence, we have thousands of witness testimonies, but we don't have proof. We don't have a body on a lab table that we can point to and say, there it is. The Chupacabra. Mystery solved. Maybe we never will. Maybe the Chupacabra is too smart, too elusive, or too otherworldly to ever be caught. Maybe it's already gone, returned to wherever it came from, leaving us with only memories and questions. Or maybe it's still out there, in the remote places, the dark places, continuing to haunt. What I want you to take away from this isn't a simple answer, because I don't have one to give you. What I want you to take away is this. The world is stranger than we think. There are things happening that don't fit neatly into our scientific understanding. There are experiences that can't be easily explained away. And that's okay. That's what makes life interesting. The people who saw the Chupacabra, who lost their livestock, who lived through that fear, their experiences are valid. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to be taken seriously. Whether the Chupacabra is a flesh and blood creature, a paranormal entity, or something we don't even have a category for yet, those experiences matter. And who knows? Maybe tomorrow, someone will capture undeniable proof. Maybe a researcher will make a breakthrough. Maybe the truth will finally come to light. Or maybe the Chupacabra will remain what it's always been, a mystery. A reminder that despite all our technology, all our knowledge, all our certainty, There are still things in this world that we don't understand. The next time you're out at night, in a rural area, far from city lights, and you hear something moving in the darkness, something that doesn't sound quite right, remember the Chupacabra. Remember that thousands of people have seen something they couldn't explain. Remember that livestock still dies in mysterious ways. Remember that the world still holds secrets. And maybe, just maybe, keep your animals locked up tight. If you found this deep dive into the Chupacabra mystery as fascinating as I did, researching it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next investigation into the unexplained. And let me know in the comments, do you believe in the Chupacabra? Have you had your own strange encounter? I read every comment, and your stories might just become the basis for a future video. Share this with someone who loves a good mystery. Share it with someone who thinks they have all the answers. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that the world is stranger and more wonderful than we can imagine. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, but stay open-minded. Because the truth, whatever it is out there waiting to be discovered. And sometimes, the most important thing isn't having all the answers. It's asking the right questions,